You did it again this morning. Before coffee, before you even said a word to anyone, you looked in the mirror and something inside your head already decided what it thought of your face. Not a thought, a feeling. It showed up before you could stop it. Here's the strange part. You didn't choose this. You never got a vote. Whatever is making that judgment was built thousands of years before mirrors even existed. Built by people who never once saw their own face clearly in their whole lives. They built a system with no idea it would end up doing this exact job. Judging a face in a piece of glass, alone, with no one else around at all. What if that feeling, that quick little judgment, was never really about how you look? What if it was never about beauty the way you think of it, but about something colder and more practical? A fast checkup your brain runs on every face it sees, including your own, whether you want it to or not. Tonight we're going back, past the mirror, past the camera, past every painting ever made, all the way back to a time before people even had a word for pretty, but were already judging each other by it anyway. We're going to sit by that fire and ask the question nobody really answers honestly. Why does beauty feel like just an opinion when your body treats it like a fact? 40,000 years ago, on a hill above a river you wouldn't recognize, a girl sits by a fire that's mostly just glowing coals now. The smoke hangs low tonight, thick enough to taste, and it stings her throat every time the wind shifts. She's maybe 16. She has never once seen her own face. Not clearly. Only a dark, blurry shape in still water, gone the second she leans closer. She doesn't need to see her own face, though. She reads people the same way we read a room, through their eyes, their reactions, the way they look at her. A spark jumps off the fire and dies in the dirt by her feet, and behind her a kid laughs at nothing in particular, just normal camp noise. And across the flames, a young man from another group keeps glancing at her, looking away, then looking again. And something in her chest reacts to that look before her mind even catches up to what's happening. She doesn't know his name, might not even speak his language. But across that fire, she's reading him, his face, his skin, the way he stands. And her body is already forming an opinion before she's told it to. And here's the thing nobody tells you about that moment. Getting it wrong wasn't safe. A face was basically the only information a stranger ever gave you. No background check, no history. Just a few seconds of firelight on someone's skin and a choice that could decide who you had kids with, who you trusted to watch your back, who you let near your family while you slept. Pick someone whose body was quietly showing signs of sickness or weakness, and you weren't just picking badly. You could be putting your whole family's future at risk in a world with no doctors, no medicine, and no do-overs. So our bodies didn't leave this up to careful thinking. They built a snap judgment system instead, one that makes up its mind in less than a second, way before your thinking brain even catches on. By the time you notice you find someone attractive, the decision's already made. You're not really choosing. You're just finding out. That night, she doesn't get a say in whether she finds him good-looking. She just finds out that she already does. So let's break down what's actually happening. What is your brain reading on a stranger's face in that split second? That makes it say, this person is attractive. Mostly, it's looking for clues. Clear skin wasn't just nice to look at, it told a story. Sickness, poor diet, and parasites all leave marks. Rashes, sores, dull color. So clean, even skin told an old-world observer, instantly, this person's body has been holding up fine. A balanced, even face worked the same way, just for a different reason. Growing up evenly, both ears the same height, both eyes lined up right, one side of your face matching the other, takes a calm, well-fed childhood. Stress, sickness, and hunger while you're growing throw that balance off. So a well-balanced face was basically proof of a steady, well-fed childhood. Proof that this person's family had managed to keep them safe and fed for years. Which meant they might do the same for you. And then there's something stranger that we almost never talk about honestly, plain, ordinary faces. Across study after study, faces that are closer to average, nothing too big, too small, too unusual, get rated as more attractive than faces with one extreme feature. Sounds backwards until you think about what average really means. It's the safest bet. Nothing unusual went wrong in how that face was put together. Average wasn't boring. Average was safe. Now, none of this was perfect. Here's the strange part. Healthy people weren't always trustworthy, and trustworthy people weren't always healthy. Clear skin tells you nothing about whether someone will steal from you at night. A well-balanced face says nothing about courage, or cruelty, or kindness. This system was never built to be exact. It was built to be fast, a shortcut that was right often enough to keep you alive, even if it got things wrong sometimes too. And whether these snap judgments were fair is a totally different question from whether they were useful. But people who could size up a stranger quickly, friend or threat, safe or risky, usually moved faster, and in a world with no second chances, moving faster usually meant living longer than the people still standing there thinking it over. A group of people on one side of the world, and a totally different group on the other side who never met and never talked, would land on almost the same idea of which faces looked healthy and which looked off, because they were all running on the same basic instincts, shaped by the same basic problems. Stay alive, get along with each other, and live long enough to raise kids who could do the same. This wasn't some private hobby. It was a shared, silent shortcut. Not perfect, sometimes unfair, but fast enough to matter. Running quietly under every fire, every hunt, every nervous first meeting between strangers, for tens of thousands of years before anyone ever had a word for beauty at all. Now here's where this stops being just about staying alive, and starts being about something much trickier: how you see yourself. For most of human history, there was no water still enough, no surface clear enough for someone to really study their own face the way they studied everyone else's. You could read every face around the fire except your own. Every flaw, every flicker of doubt on someone else's face, you'd catch it instantly. But the one face that actually decided your fate stayed hidden from you. Your whole life. And then, slowly, over thousands of generations, something changed that had nothing to do with health or skin at all. People started noticing that being seen as good-looking changed how others treated them. Softer voices, quicker trust, more food shared, more help offered, more forgiveness given. It stopped being just something your body had. It became social currency. Something that bought you status, trust, and influence, and something you could lose. And the moment it became something you could lose, it became something you could be afraid of losing. That's the start of something that still hasn't healed. Worrying about your own worth, tied straight to your body, judged by people you can't see, in a way you can never argue with or appeal. Somewhere, long before any of this got written down, a person noticed something. Some faces got greeted first. Some faces got trusted faster, given the benefit of the doubt, waved closer to the fire without anyone thinking twice. Some faces just seemed to move through the group more easily, while other faces had to work for it, every single time, just to be let in. There was no elder to ask about this, no God yet invented to explain it, no mirror to check if it was even true, and for the first time, someone quietly wondered which kind of face they had. That's the moment a person's sense of who they were stopped being just about what they did and started being partly about how others saw them. Before anyone ever asked themselves, "Am I good enough?" there was just a face by a fire, slowly realizing it was being judged and that it would keep being judged by everyone, forever, with no way to ever check if the judgment was even right. You're not standing by a fire this morning. You're standing in front of glass, under electric light, holding a phone that's about to show you 100 faces picked out by a system that's learned exactly which ones keep your eyes glued the longest. None of that is old or ancient. But the part of you reacting to it? That part is. That tight feeling in your chest when a photo of you doesn't get the reaction you hoped for, that's not vanity, and it's not weakness. That's 40,000 years of "will people protect me" running on a brain that has no idea the people are now just a notification count. The part of you that winces at your own reflection on a bad day is the exact same part that once kept someone alive long enough to have kids. by making her care urgently about what her face was telling strangers. You inherited a system that was built for a world with maybe 150 faces in it total, your whole life, and now you've handed that same system access to billions. It was never upgraded for this. It's still grading you and everyone you scroll past using rules made for surviving around a fire that's been cold ash for 40,000 years. So next time you feel that little flicker of judgment about your own face or anyone else's, you don't have to obey it. You can't really silence it either. That's not something you can switch off any more than your heartbeat. But maybe the real question isn't, how do I stop caring how I look? That question never really gets answered. Your ancestors couldn't answer it, and you won't either. The bigger question is the one this whole video has actually been about, hiding behind the word beauty the whole time. When did a person first start watching themselves from the outside? Judging their own face the same way they judged everyone else's, with no mirror, no proof, and no way to ever check if they were right? That's not really a story about beauty at all. That's the moment people first became self-aware. Not as a flaw, not as vanity, but as a survival trick that never got switched off, and is still running right now in this room with no fire in it at all.